you can probably tell, we are off-site once again, and absolutely delighted to be up at the Loch Ness Centre, and specifically in the whisky shop with Kenny Fraser, who is providing whisky tasting experiences for visitors and locals that wish to come and trial whiskies from around the whole of Scotland. Very much providing an authentic experience here in Drumnadrochit, which is at the heart of everything that we're trying to do here in the village. Kenny, a very warm welcome to Beyond the Loch.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an esteemed group of people you've interviewed, and I'm glad to be part of it for the overall, but thank you.
Absolutely. Kenny, maybe tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, your journey to where you are here today, and perhaps how that's come about.
Yeah, so I've my early days, I was always working in places like bars and stuff like that, and I ended up managing to secure a job overseas working on cruise ships from sort of 2007 to 2010. So I kind of travelled the world a bit and learned about different whisky and alcohols and that sort of things around the world. And then coming back to Scotland and moving to Edinburgh and working in places like the Scotch Whisky Experience. So I kind of got my beginnings in whisky there, as a lot of people who work in the whisky trade kind of begin in these sort of places. Then I had an opportunity to work in a whisky shop called the Whisky Rooms in Edinburgh, and became manager of that. And there we were selling whiskies in the heart of Edinburgh, just off the Royal Mile, thousands of people, and doing hundreds of whisky tastings with groups, talking to people who know lots about whisky and who know nothing about whisky. So I kind of got the love of whisky from there, and always been interested in it. And then lastly moved back up to the Highlands of Scotland a few years ago, just after the pandemic. Took something completely different, worked at the Loch Ness Centre next door for a while. That was a lot of fun. But then had an urge to come back to the land of whisky. So here I am. So
And home.
And home, absolutely, yeah, back in Drum. Yeah. But it's sort of unexpected, but it's good to be here.
It's an amazing space you've got here. It's I cannot tell our viewers enough. I don't think we'll be able to express. I'm sure we'll be able to pan around later on, but we've got the fabulous mural behind us. Maybe a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was a local artist chap called Mark who's done this. You may have seen his other work in the village, just past Esso petrol station, the big mural there. The train, it's really a good job. So that was inspired to get him, and yeah, so it's a kind of abstract, nice, cool view of Scotland, a little bit different. Mainly set on the regions of Scotland, Lowlands, Highlands, Stacey, Highlands, etc. there too, and of course Scotch whisky, as you may or may not know, is made from barley, so with that there inside there too. So it's quite cool. I like it.
And we'll try and get a shot at some point for our viewers, but we've got some locally handmade, crafted tables.
Yeah, Kaelin did that. Kaelin, the local lad, does amazing stuff, and it's really cool, and it's all beautifully done.
It looks incredible. Kudos to you all. Starting the business, Kenny.
Yeah.
It's great to have this new experience here in the village, adding to what already our local community do. I think Drumnadrochit is becoming a real hive of activity of things to see and do. We know already that your whisky tastings are being extremely well received. The people that are maybe thinking of coming along to a whisky tasting, what perhaps would they expect to see and do within the time here?
Yeah, I mean, so my tastings are usually a 1 hour format. In that time, I mean, I say 1 hour, but depending on the conversations, they go for a bit longer than that. They're good fun. And my tastings are, cover a little bit about the history of Scotch whisky. It's such a treasure trove of amazing facts, all the way back to the sort of 1400s, to the more sort of modern times. So lots sort of delve into that. So there's a bit of something there for the history buffs. But also the whisky itself. A lot of people are only aware, if you're coming from around the world, of a couple of brands of Johnny Walkers and things. And my objective here is to let people try things that they might not have seen before, that are just as good quality, but haven't maybe got the sort of international recognition that some big brands like Glenfiddich or even Macallan, etc. they know. And so it's quite cool to try some different things that are just equally as interesting and good. And my tastings, as I said, it's not a lecture, it's open for discussion. If you have 3 or 4 people, it's great. If you got, we can put 14, 15 people in here and you get people to start talking, especially after 2 whiskies, people don't tend to shut up, which is fine. But it's really good to have fun communication, and whiskey, it's a really good social lubricant. You can chat, you can talk all about it, and it's really good fun. That's actually
you mentioned there about the different whiskies, and I was going to ask you, how do you decide which whiskies it is that you're going to...
Yeah, I mean, the big difference from what I do here is I'm not affiliated with any whisky distillery. If you were to go to one of the Diageo distilleries like Talisker or Glenore just up over in Eurevard, you're kind of stuck with a niche of what you've got there, the big companies. I'm not affiliated with any of these guys. I choose what I think is interesting. So I've got some interesting ones here, which tell me go at some of them. I was recently at the west coast of Scotland in a place called Dresden near Loch So if you can make this out here in the map, we're somewhere around here. Loch is here, and it's a distillery just across the harbour, the flow from Mull, called McNean Whisky Distillery, which is a brand new whisky distillery. I say brand new, it's been to go for about 9 or 10 years now. One of the world's first fully organic whisky distilleries in terms of they're carbon neutral. They have their own wood burner, which is locally sourced wood, which is from the same estate, so it's all an energy recycle. It's fantastic, and they make some pretty cool whisky there as well. And I was recently there, and I thought you might try some when you're here. So this is something a bit different.
9 or 10 years is young for
well,
a distillery.
you think that, but I mean, when the second whisky I'll let you try in a little while is a much older in terms of the age of the distillery, but I thought you should try some sort of modern new style of Scotch whisky in terms of the whole process being 100% peat free. It's a distillery which, like I mentioned to you, it's all organic and carbon neutral, and has won quite a few awards actually for this. It's quite cool. So if you want to try some of it,
sounds like a great story.
Absolutely. So please have a little go. I believe you're an esteemed whisky drinker, is that right?
Oh, we use the word esteemed.
Absolutely. So yeah, have a look at it. If all Scotch whiskies, also have a look at the colour. And the colour kind of gives you a sort of indication into what sort of oak barrels the whisky was matured in. As you may or may not know, Scotch whiskies always mature in oak wood casks, and these casks come from around the world.
Where would those casks come from?
All over the world. So a lot of our whisky barrels that we use in Scotland come from America. In America, when they make whiskies such as Jim Beam and Jack Daniels, not the best two, but the most famously known, and many others in the States, when they use their barrels to make their style whisky, once they're done with them, they send them over to us here in Scotland, and we use them to mature our whisky in oak wood barrels. So what you've got here is Scotch whisky matured in bourbon barrels, sherry barrels, and shaved, toasted, and recharred wine barrels. So it's a combination of 3 different casks there, so it's quite cool. So have a little smell. It's quite a clean, light, fruity style single malt Scotch whisky. As I said, the distillery doesn't use any peat. We use peat in Scotch whisky production, and peat's really good at making smoky style Scotch whisky. But in the modern things, peat's really awesome at storing carbon. So being a completely carbon neutral distillery, etc., and trying to be as green as you can, peat's a no-no. Right? So this is a Scotch whisky which is peat free. So if you want to have a little taste of it, stand you down, have a little bit. So quite a sweet, fruity kind of whisky. I should have warned you, it's 48% alcohol that one, so there's a little kick to it.
Yeah.
But you did well. You didn't pull the funny face.
I didn't cough on that.
I didn't cough that at all. Fantastic. Now, the reason that I got these two whiskies here, again, I mentioned my visit recently to McNean Whisky Distillery in the West Coast. So if I point back to the map a second, so McNean Distillery is located roughly about here. If you go to the car park in McNean, the front of the distillery, and you look straight southwest, you can actually make out about 10 miles away to Mori.
Oh, wow. So
you probably remember the kids' show What's the Story About Mori with the pink and the yellow houses, etc. Yeah. You can literally see that. And what I thought was quite a cool comparison here is you've got McNean Whisky, which is a relatively new whisky distillery from the last 10 years. And this is called Leche from the Tobermory Whisky Distillery, which dates back to the 1798 kind of year. So this is a very old distillery in terms of, very new. And this one's a little bit different. Do you want to have a little smell of this glass and see what you think about the aroma of this one?
Thank you.
There you go. You notice a big difference straight away. The colour, very similar. It's also matured bourbon cask and that sherry influence there as well. Kind of a golden light kind of colour. Have a little smell, it's a bit different, this one.
Oh, yeah.
As we call it, heavily peated Scotch whisky. So, Tobermory Whisky Distillery.
Not my particular favourite.
Well, not yet. Okay. Well, the thing about a lot of peaty whiskies is the amount of people I talk to about Scotch whisky, I'm always amazed. People love or hate this. It's a bit like Marmite. You're on board or you're really not on board. And if you are, it's amazing. And the thing about peaty whiskies, if you don't like them yet, we keep saying the word yet, it's something you'll get into. It's a time and place thing as well. A heavily peated Scotch whisky, in my opinion, should be had later on in the whisky session. If you kind of open up with one, your palate's kind of wiped out. So you kind of, traditionally, in my opinion, you always go into the kind of peat supposed to come out of it. So if you start with peaty whiskies, the ones afterwards will smell like bubblegum. So anyway, cheers. That's lunch. Have a look at this one. Quite a different flavour. Earthy, bonfire-y, bit West Coast kind of vibe there.
Yes, but not as strong peat-wise as perhaps.
Yeah, maybe something, yeah.
As the smell.
Absolutely, yeah. The peat, it's a very interesting sort of style. But yeah, it's a unique sort of style of Scotch whisky, the peaty stuff. You get whisky made all over the world, from American whisky to Japanese whisky, you name it. It's coming. Even Iceland has whisky now. In Ireland, they've got something there too. But that peaty stuff is quite unique to Scotland.
It's It's fascinating, and you can obviously tell that the passion that you have for your subject coming through. You've talked about the geography of the whiskies. Are there other aspects that maybe you weave into your tastings, so the history, culture?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many interesting facts about Scotch whisky. I mentioned earlier about the beginnings of it. The first written reference to Scotch whisky is in 1494. That was 2 years just after the Americas were discovered by the Europeans, to give you an idea how far back in time it goes. So there's some pretty cool history there. Scotland invented lots of things. Penicillin, television, radio, but believe it or not, distillation wasn't one of ours. That probably arrived here about the 10th, 11th century from the Irish. That's another fascinating story there too, but we'll come to that another time. And my point I'm trying to make is that I think a lot of the history was fascinating about it. Even to modern times, whiskey is an amazing thing for the Scottish economy and British economy, unfortunately, I should say there as well. This makes about £7 or £8 billion a year in exports, almost a quarter of all the UK's food and beverage export. It's massive. Scotch whisky is sold in over 170 countries around the world, and countries that don't drink whisky don't drink alcohol. So it's pretty much everywhere it needs to be. So I think putting the stories like that and information from tastings, I think is quite crucial.
So I suppose the thing that comes to light there is there's a huge, much more than just the tasting. So if someone didn't like whiskey and was to come along, still welcome?
100%. It's at the end of the day, it's just a drink, and it's not everyone's cup of tea that's everyone's cup of tea. But the majority, I would say 95% of the tastings I've done, people didn't like whiskey, they appreciate something about it. And where it was, okay, a lot of people who don't like whiskey, they said, all smells the same. And in fact, if I managed to get them to say, oh, there's a difference there, that's a start. A lot of people are like, I won't touch it, it all smells the same. But actually, there's a big difference there too. And so it's not just for whiskey drinkers. Non-whiskey drinkers might be discovering something new they haven't had before. A lot of people try whiskey in a busy bar, busy pub in Edinburgh, for example. It's packed. It's not actually the best place to do that. A lot going on. It's very, very strong stuff. The whiskey, you need to sit 5 minutes and sit down, smell it, enjoy it, appreciate it. It's expensive too, and it's unfortunately expensive, so you don't want to rush it.
And if they don't like whiskey yet, then they probably just haven't found the right one.
Well, there's that classic, that's the classic saying, absolutely. So but it's definitely something for everybody.
Kenny, if we can maybe come back to the home we talked about earlier here in Drumnadrochit on the shores of Loch Ness. Home for you as a child. Can maybe for our viewers tell us how important it was for you to keep your business rooted here in the Loch Ness community?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I grew up in the area, and my dad was born in Drumnadrochit in the house. To give you an idea about it. I think my gran moved here, and Kenny Fraser, she moved here by boat. She told me there wasn't a road, so it gives you so this is always home to me. And you always want a lot of people that I know that have gone away into the world. A lot of them have come back, self included. I'm really glad I have an opportunity now to share my passion with whiskey with people from around the world. I did it in Edinburgh, why can't I do it here? And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this job. I quite enjoy working at Loch Ness Centre, but the Thai whiskey kind of brought me back, and it's something I feel that I'm strongly comfortable telling people I'm doing. So it's important for me to do it at home.
Yeah. So for our viewers again, maybe thinking about coming to Loch Ness, how would they go about booking a whiskey?
Absolutely. I mean, if you visit our shop, you can speak to me directly. Online, you can find our whiskey tastings available at Drum Whisky Shop. If you head to in social media, Instagram, you can search for the Drum Whisky Shop, and if you search for the Drum Whisky Shop tastings via Google, you find a link. You find our online booking system there as well, which you book for us directly.
That's great. I'm sure within our socials and links we'll
click here, right?
Grace behind the camera will take care of that and ensure that we're pointing people to your experience. Kenny, if we maybe finish up by touching on, you've obviously come a long way, you've been around the world, come back to Drumnadrochit here, and the youngsters are perhaps thinking about getting into tourism. Your advice for them, and perhaps also touching on what it means to you for visitors to come and book with your experience.
Yeah, gosh, I mean, when I was, I grew up in this village, and you're quite sheltered from the reality of the world. What we got in Drumnadrochit, it's a very small, tight-knit community. And when I was 21, I found myself very, very far away from home. I was working on cruise ships, and I remember being in South America and thinking, where am I? Because the moon was wrong. Right? We see the crescent hole and that. If you go to the southern hemisphere, it's the wrong way around. I thought, I am really far away from home. And that's always stuck with me. And whenever I see young guys that are in the village, or young girls want to travel, I say it's one of the best things to do is to get out there and see the world and get a really amazing appreciation for what's out there. Because there is such a lot of things out there, and you meet so many amazing people, and people that are, it's an amazing thing to learn, and you learn so much from these people
Of course,
as well.
yeah.
It's really cool. And working in this profession here, working with the tourists, is again we get to meet these people. And doing my tastings, I mean, I spend an hour and a bit, and we're all having a couple of whiskies. Not so much anymore. And they open up as well and tell them about something they learn about. Or when we talk about for heavily peated Scotch whisky, some people just get the smokiness, but some people get very strong memories, and that shared is really interesting to hear about their life and what they remember from this. So there's really interesting stuff there.
Yeah. That sense of pride, that sense of passion absolutely shines through, Kenny. I cannot recommend this experience enough to everyone. Please go online, look up Drum Whisky Shop.
Yeah, well, I'm sure this could be enlarged.
We'll
You'll find it all there as well.
We'll add the QR code.
And yourself, Russell, and if you wish to come, I'm thinking I'm doing a whisky tasting for the community again at some point shortly. For not just for people who run things, but for everybody. I think something interesting for the community would be quite good fun to do as well. And we'll look at that in the near future.
Something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.